Welcome back everyone, it's Stephanie from Glitterful. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're looking to learn fun and easy glitter tumbler designs and DIY crafts, start today by subscribing to my channel below. Become that glitterholic and click that notification bell to always know when I upload. Okay guys, so I have my cup prepped. I'm going to be using Prestige, which is our newest GG Custom Mix. I'm going to be using KS Resin Liquidy Split, so it's going to have a drive time of 2 hours. Since I'm going to be using the epoxy method to apply my glitter, I'm going to be using, I'm going to set up 10 mLs for this, only because I'm using chunky glitter. So I just want to have enough so that I know it's going to stick on there. So I'm going to set this up and we'll be right back. Okay, so once you're done mixing in your epoxy, I'm going to go ahead and use my churner just so that it can move around. I'm just going to use my fingers here, guys. Nothing special. I did not put something underneath my cup churner just because I'm not like pouring a lot of epoxy, so nothing was actually going to be dripping. When you're applying glitter as using the epoxy method, you guys want to remember, we don't need a lot of epoxy. You just want enough so that it can be the adhesive. So just remember that we're not actually using the epoxy for turning, so it doesn't need to coat anything at this very second. We just want the glitter to adhere to the cup. So this is why. Notice that I'm using a little bit more than my 5 mLs that I normally use, because I am using a chunkier glitter. In specific, this one has beautiful pieces of our shattered glass collection. So you will see that it is going to need a little bit more help in adhering. And this is why I use just a little bit more than 5 mLs. And actually, I'm going to show you, I still have about 2.5 mLs left in here. So I'm not really worried. I do cover the bottom of my cup, so I will do that. And I am using my Mossberg spinner, guys, which you can find this awesome churner on our website at glitterful.com. I love this churner, guys. It's just the perfect speed. It has different arms, and the best thing about it is that your cup is always even. You don't have to worry about those dreaded footballs, guys. Ugh, I hate the footballs. All right, so now that my cup is full here of epoxy and ready, I am going to go ahead and put a paper underneath so that I can capture my glitter. And again, I'm going to be using Prestige, guys, which is from our Glitterful collection. It is a GG Custom Mix. I'm going to go ahead and open the top here, and I'm just going to start sprinkling this on, guys. Look at this gorgeousness. You'll want to keep adding glitter onto your cup until your cup is fully covered in glitter, leaving no spots open. You'll want to use your gloves, your gloved hand, to start patting down the glitter so that you don't have any jagged pieces of glitter standing up. Hey guys, all right, so my cup is dry. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a spray sealer. This one is triple thick, clear gaze. And I'm going to be using this to seal it so that I don't have many bumps or anything, because what happens is with chunky glitter, your epoxy tends to seep into those cracks. So this is going to be a preventative measure, and then we'll be back to add our epoxy. Okay guys, so once we have let this dry, I am going to do a flood coat of epoxy. So for those of you that don't know what this is, I do have a more specific and detailed video, and I'll have that link below. But basically, we're just going to do an overabundance of epoxy on the cup so we have full coverage. I tend to do this on cups that have, that are chunky, that are like irregular cut like this, because they tend to seep in, and I just want to have as much of a layer as possible so when I have to do the sanding. And I also use Krylon clear glaze to seal this as best as possible. So for this one, I'm going to set up 80 mLs of epoxy. I'm probably not going to use all of it, but I am going to set myself up, and whatever I have extra, I'll just make some cute little keychain. I will be using CC DIY Fast Set epoxy. So I'm going to do half and half, part A and part B, and I will be using a separate plastic cup to mix these both in together. So stay tuned. Okay, so once my epoxy is mixed, I'm going to gently start adding my epoxy onto this cup. I'm going to be using my hands to glide the epoxy around the cup. I like to start at the rim and start like evening it out around. Sorry, I probably was blocking that for a second there. Oop, and my churner is not cooperating because I did not screw that in correctly. All right, so again, I'm just gliding that around the cup. And again, for those of you wondering, like, why are you doing a flood coat? I honestly don't have any patience to wait 3-4 times for chunky glitter to, you know, be flat and smooth. So I like to start with the flood coat because it allows me the time to be able to apply the epoxy and have a nice barrier so I can sand down whatever may be uneven. So this is why I do that, just for those of you out there wondering. Although I really, I like the process of adding a clear glaze before any chunky glitter. It gives it a nice seal so the chunky glitters can lay where they are, as well as covering some of those places where the epoxy can kind of seep in. A lot of people, some people, not a lot, but some people use parchment paper. They have different methods of how they lay the epoxy down. I just find it easier to give it a quick seal with any clear, like triple thick or acrylic clear sealant. It's really your choice and what works for you, but this is how I do it. And like I said, I right now did an 80 mLs of epoxy that I'm gliding over with my hand here. And 80 mLs might be like too much, but that's okay. Whatever I have left over, I usually use on little pendants or some molds that I may have lying around. Never waste epoxy. Always use it for something else. Notice that there may be some places where your glitter may be sticking up. Try to bring those down. Use the fact that you have a lot of epoxy on the cup to be able to help you glide them down. You want them down. And it may be a little bit hard as you're gliding the epoxy around the cup, but I'll show you what to do as soon as I lay this down. And I like to get really close to that rim there. For those of you wondering, how do I get epoxy from not falling inside my cup? You can add some Vaseline to the inside of your cup. I didn't do that to this one. I tend to forget. If you're like me, join the club, but I do tend to forget. But you can, to avoid the mess of having to clean it up with a X-Acto knife towards the end and all that fun stuff, you can definitely add some Vaseline to the inside of your cup so that you can avoid that. I'm actually probably going to end up using the full 80. And like I said, chunky glitter sometimes can be a little bit of a trickster. So I really love using a flood coat for them. Plus it saves me the time of 3-4 coats of epoxy. Who's with me on that one? Like, you ever put epoxy down on one layer and second layer and third layer, you're just like, cup, I'm giving up on you. Don't give up. Start with the flood coat. I can already feel my epoxy getting warm, which is great. Great. All right, guys, so you want to continue to keep applying your epoxy onto the cup. We want to make sure that you're guiding the cup, the epoxy onto the cup, getting onto those edges, the rim and the bottom rim, so that you can cover the cup in its entirety. You're going to see here that I'm going to be using my big torch, this big boy. This one pops all the bubbles, guys. Like, I can't tell you how impressive this little propane thing can be. Be careful though. I've set things on fire. I'm not even gonna lie. My group can tell you all about it. So you'll want to use your torch and just once you have it on, very quickly, not too close, not too far, just right in between, adding some of that flame onto the cup, and it's going to start bursting that bubble, all those little micro bubbles that you will see, giving you that perfect glass-like shape, or not shape, but glass effect at the end of your cup drying. So if you don't have this big boy, you can definitely use a kitchen torch. Both of these can be found on my Amazon link below. So once you're done torching your cup, you'll want to go ahead and just let this bad boy sit for at least 3 to 4 hours, depending on your epoxy brand dry time. And then we'll be back. All right, guys, so now we're going to get to the fun part. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start using our Texture Paste Opaque Matte. This stuff is, if you've seen those cool little whipped cream type cups, this is it. This is this wonderful stuff. It looks like this. It's actually really light and fluffy. So we're going to go ahead and work with this today. And you can pick this up on our website, and or you can check it out. If we're out, you can check it out on my Amazon shop. So just be on the lookout for these. Really cool. Now for this design, we're going to use quite a bit. So I am going to use the remainder of my 3.9 fluor ounce bottle, and I'm going to be using alcohol inks. Take a deep breath. I know, crazy, right? But the alcohol inks actually give it this really awesome kind of creamy texture. And to make flowers, if you guys, are bakers and you've tried making flowers, you want it kind of resembles a little bit of that buttercream kind of feeling. Now with texture paste, it's a little bit more harder to kind of mold. So with adding just a little bit enough to make this tint, and it gives that creamy texture, you could see how I'm kind of placing and playing it here. So really cool. This is the type of texture we're looking for. So I'm going to be using Sangria from our Jacquard collection on our alcohol inks on our site, as well as the chili pepper color here. With your alcohol inks, you're going to want to add as many droplets as you need to create that color. This isn't going to entirely change the texture of your textured paste. It's just going to make it a little bit more smoother and a little bit more bendier in regards to the actual paste itself. To me, I found that it actually worked so well, but I added a lot of alcohol ink droplets. I started with 1 and 1, and as I kept going and mixing my colors, because I kept using my sticks and my little sculpting stick to ensure that it got to the color that I wanted. So, and you'll see at the end, I actually didn't use a lot of alcohol ink. I still had a lot left over. This Wilton box is the box that came with the piping bags and the piping tools that you'll need, and I'll walk over those with you once we start adding all this stuff into the piping bag. But for now, add your colorant, so your alcohol, ink, into your paste. Mix those up until you get the color that you desire. Take a look, I still have quite a bit in here. You can actually see my line stops right there, and this one's still pretty full. So you're still not using a lot. I know it felt like a lot, but you're really not. So the tip we're going to use is the Wilton 104, and it looks like this, and this is to start the rose. So I have my piping bag, and this is, I reuse. So you guys, I'm notorious for reduce, reuse, recycle, guys. It's not just for your recyclables. That saying, we try to use as much as we can of our craft supplies. Why? Because this is your business. This is your hobby. It gets expensive. Your business, you want to save on your bottom line. Oops, I did it backwards, guys. Haha. So, hold on a second, because I don't do this often. So you're going to put this plastic piece in here into the piping bag, okay? And actually this one, from the one I was using, my kids were in my craft room, so they stole the one that I'm using, which is a little bit more. No, can you pass me the scissors right there, please? I'm going to take some of this off right here. Not a lot, I don't, until I find my little one. Okay, so I cut this off so you can have enough to cover over the bag, okay? And this is going to straighten out as we go here. So, okay, we want to secure this onto the bag, okay? Then we want to bring this bag over your hand, guys, just like if you were piping a cake. Okay, and this is where, hold on a second, I'm going to take this part out. And I am notorious for making a mess here. Okay, so I'm gonna scoop up. Gonna need some of your help here, Mr. Political. I'm just dropping crap all over the place. All right, thank you. All right, so you want to scoop this up all into here, guys. You want to get as low as you can. I'm not doing a good job at scooping. I got my helping hands here. Say hello to Mr. Political. All right. All right, so we're scooping all that in. I can't see you, honey. Thank God. I'm so excited to do this with you all. Whatever we don't use, we can always just put it back in there. Okay, so then now you want to just bring your bag up, keeping that part down as much as possible. Okay, and you want to squeeze the pipe down. Sweep your all your stuff as much down. This is the part where it gets a little tricky, especially if you don't do this all the time, which I don't. I tried my hardest in baking cakes, guys, hence why I bought the Wilton's design. And you can use the same scraper to push down, but I didn't. So you want to squeeze this So you're getting as much air out as possible. And I will tell you, it's not easy, guys. Like, this is different from buttercream and stuff like that. Buttercream and icing, so it's difficult. But take a look at this. You see, we already started to get some out.
Okay, guys, so now we're gonna go on to our cup and I'll show you how to set that up.
Hey guys, okay, so we have this lid, right? So I just keynote here, if you have one of these lids, and obviously you will, that has a cover, this is it. Like, they won't be able to move this anymore. So you're just gonna try to cover up this sector as best as you can. I'm using tape here to kind of cover up that little area, just to give myself a little slip here. My hair is literally everywhere. Ah. Just enough to kind of give me that gup in there so it doesn't move, and it creates kind of like a barrier for my lid not to move. This is it though, because we will be epoxying over this, and we'll talk about that in the next step, but we have to worry about this step. So we want to start with the bottom tip and the top tip up, okay? And we want to start off with making a circle as big as you can, guys. Don't go crazy. You still want it to look like a flower. So I'm going to start over this lid here, the cover of the lid, like the little circular, and then we're going to go and in a circular motion and start twirling this over one another, okay? You want to cover it up as best as you can. So just be gentle. Use the lid to move this all around, and try to keep your piping bag straight, okay? If you've never done this before, just try doing it like at a practice. And you just want to create kind of that bulb that you're gonna see. You see that? It looks fugly. It actually almost reminds me of the hat from Harry Potter. What is it? The sorting hat. So this is the sorting, yeah. All right, so now here's the fun part, because now that you have that little bulb, I'm gonna make this tighter again. And again, we're starting from here, from the bottom where the bigger part opens. And you want to start from end to end. So we're going to do a nice, I guess this is considered a semicircle, right, honey? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from edge to edge, so it's going to look like that. And then you want to meet that end and do it again, creating another semicircle on the other side and meeting each other. So you're still going to have that bulb opening. Do you guys see that? And then you're going to do it again from the other side. Oop. Make sure it's sticking here, guys. Sometimes and I ran. See, this is the air thing, guys. And that's okay. We'll just have to meet it, and we'll work at it. So here, across. And if it does this, where this is the whole thing about texture paste, guys, is that you can mold it. It's moldable. So it may not look awesome, but roses are beautiful in their own way, right? So you just make it work, and you mold it so that it peeks back together, because this will happen. The air pockets will happen. You're not using icing, guys. You're not using buttercream. It's like clay. Like, you have to work at it. Same thing. So from this side, you want to meet it, and you want to bring it over, covering one another. Don't try to rush it either, guys. Like, try not to rush it, because now you're going to start creating, you see the bulb opening. How cute is that? And you're going to start covering up that little zigzag swirly thing you have at the bottom, okay? And so now we're going to start working towards these areas. We want to build. So again, we're doing these semicircles, and we're going to meet them from corner to corner. Just trying to give this more dimension. Okay, not covering the bulb, guys. Really important. You want to start opening up the rose. Okay, so now here we are. We're going to start going into and start working outwards. We're going to start creating the same semicircle layers, but out. And we're going to do this again. I'm going to do it on this side here. I love doing these flowers, guys. They take up some of your patience. I won't lie to you, because, you know, we're perfectionists. We want things to be perfect. So sometimes they don't always, it doesn't always work out that way. So you have to play with it. But if you have that time to kind of work and have patience with it and sit in your playroom and do it in your playroom, hear me? This is the life of a mom here. Playroom, in your craft room. Do it on a day that you're not, you know, you have the kids are asleep or the husband isn't bothering you, you know, etc.
The husband.
The husband.
We don't bother.
All the time. So I'm gonna start going into this. I'm gonna push this in a little bit, guys, because she was sticking out a little bit more. But this is, again, you're playing with it. You're making this work for you. And I'm gonna grab my little stick here, because do you see how I had to kind of mold this back? So this is where I use my this little tool.
It's like a spatula.
It is like a spatula. I'm sure there is like a cake name to it, or
I'm sure.
You bakers out there, let me know what it is.
If I read the box, I'm sure.
I'll probably read the box, honey. Read the box.
Reading is fundamental.
It sure is. All right. So since I made
It's called a tapered spatula.
Very awesome. Tapered spatula.
Right now, should zoom it in. I think they should see where the rose is at. Right now.
This is where we are.
And yes, and now you're.
So now.
Right now you're layering the petals.
I am layering the petals. So I'm going to work in that area where it kind of did this ugly stuff here, and I'm going to add a layer of petal here. And notice that I'm working lower, guys. I'm starting to add dimension to the petals itself. I don't, we're going lower and we're blooming the flower outward, okay? It's going to bloom. And that's okay. We're gonna have this stuff. We're gonna do some cleanup. God, this isn't working with me right now. Ooh. It's always harder on video, guys. All right. Working the rose out. Do we see this?
Mm-hmm.
I love.
And you're closing up the rose.
Yes, I'm closing her up, but I'm actually technically, if you really think about it, I'm making her bloom. I'm giving her some life here. Look at that. So at first it looks kind of, ooh, what is this, Steph? What are you doing? As you're opening up the rose more and more and adding longer petals to her to the outside, you're going to see that it makes her open up more. So have patience with yourself.
Yes, and remember, this is art.
This is art.
It isn't going to look like this. It's going to look your way, and it's going to be better.
That's right.
Everything is unique.
Okay, and I'm going to do one last petal here. Who knows? I always say that, and then I add more. Look at that.
It's coming out amazing.
I love it. So beautiful. How would Sophia would say it? I love it, Mom. It's so beautiful. This girl's going to steal this cup, isn't she?
Yeah.
This
is my flower. It's my favorite flower.
It's my favorite. Really, tell me what's the name, and it could be your flower.
This looks gorgeous.
Oh, it's so awesome. I'm going to do one more right here. Guys, this is it. You've covered up some of your mess here. And hold on, my crew here is telling me I need to bring this up to you guys. Notice that there's some areas. So Again, I'm trying to hold a piping bag and show you guys. So there is an area in here that needs just a bit more covering. So we're gonna do that, see? Just to cover up maybe some of that part in there that may not look right. You can just keep adding, not too much. You can close her up. She can have a little less of a petal. But I don't go overzealous here. Like, use the tools that you have. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. Here, it's already starting to dry, so. Okay, so I'm gonna use some of like this my little stir stick. My handy dandy stir stick. It's coming out useful for so many things. You don't have it, you can pick it up on our website, guys, at glitterful.com. Just wait till what we do with this. Okay, we have to let this dry, but before we do that, you want to grab a towel. I'm using a baby wipe that you probably have been using throughout this video, and I'm just gonna wipe away the areas that do not need to have this textured paste. So because once it dries, it becomes hard, and it's very, very difficult for you to clean up after.
You have to scrape it.
Yeah. So
because it becomes hard and it
mind
adheres to.
passing me one of those flat ones right there? Yeah. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna be using. I literally use all my craft tools, guys. So if you're over here having a heart attack, again, reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm not gonna go crazy about buying a bunch of stuff, but you don't need, like, literally use the stuff in your craft room, clean it up, take care of it. Oops, touch that a little bit. And I still have leftover, and I'll show you what I do. I'm gonna stick that back in there, and I'll use it for another day. And I'm just cleaning up that area, guys. My big old fingers can't get in there so well, so that's why I was picking up the area that I could, and then just dusting off in the areas that I can touch. So that may have smudged. You see that? All right, so I'm gonna bring this up to you guys, and we're gonna twirl this around here, and you wanna let this sit. You wanna let this sit and let it dry. Give it a full 8 hours just to kind of let it do its thing, and then we'll be back and I'll show you how we're going to finish off the cap, but we still have the rest of the cup to go, so I'm so excited for you guys.
So I forgot to show you guys, but what we do for the excess textured paste that you have remaining, you just want to push it out of that piping bag back into your little container and save that for your next project.
Okay, guys, so once you have let your cup dry, it's fully ready for you to sand. You're going to see that even with the flood coat, chunkies are a pain in the rear, and sometimes they're going to stick up. So this is when I bring out the big guns, and I'm going to be using my Wen drill. So it has my sanding drill, and I'm going to be using that to level out the parts where there's chunkies kind of sticking up and I can't control, just using a regular sanding block.
Sand your entire cup until it is leveled, and then clean off your cup with Dawn liquid soap to ensure all of that crust that's on the cup that came through the sanding comes off. You can find the Wen on our Amazon link below. We're going to give this cup another small coat just to cover up and give that shine back to the cup after doing all that sanding. So I'm only doing about 15 mLs of epoxy, and you're going to add that to your cup. You're going to let it spin based on your epoxy brand's dry time, and then we'll be back. All right, so once your cup has already dried and it is smooth, you are able to add your decals. So I'm going to go ahead and add mine, and I will be back.
Okay, guys, so let me move some of this stuff. So let's talk about our rose. Now we're gonna get to that part where we were chatting. We need to epoxy. Look how gorgeous this beauty came out. Let's protect the outside layer here. I'm gonna try to be super careful so I don't drop this, because it is hardened, but it's not, it can still break. Remember, it's only textured paste, and this is why we're gonna put epoxy on this so that we can go ahead and give this a nice protective seal. I'm gonna go ahead and put back in there the little straw tape that we did, just to cover up that little sector. Again, having issues with my gloves here, guys. So stinking cute. Who's excited to make these? Right here. All right. So once I've made that little bulge in the tape, I'll push this in as much as I can. I want it towards the lip of the cup, not towards the flower. Why? Because we need to epoxy this. We want to get epoxy into and on the sides of the flower. You will need a silicone brush for this part. We're going to be using Mystique, which is our epoxy enhancer. If you don't have this, you don't know what this is, stay tuned. This is amazing. So we are going to do another 20 mLs here for the cup. You probably only need 15, but I'm going to do 20 because I want to use a little bit of that for like 5 for the rose, so that we can get this coated very nicely and protect it.
I will be using some Mystique, which is our epoxy enhancer. You add just a little bit, a pinch of that into your epoxy. I'll be using the little edge of my Cricut tool, and I'll be mixing that into the epoxy just to give any design just a little bit of shine. All right, guys, so with your silicone brush, you'll want to start applying your epoxy onto the rose, just really getting into those crevices in there and making sure that each petal has epoxy on there, placing it and moving it around so that you don't really get any pools of epoxy. It's going to be a little difficult because epoxy is self-leveling, but just do your best by pulling it away and just brushing on the epoxy onto those petals. Once you're done, you're gonna let both your rose and your cup finish drying. So for me, it's going to be about 3 to 4 hours before mines are fully done for I can touch. I am applying a little bit of heat onto my cup so I can kill any micro bubbles that are in there and have a beautiful glass-like cup. All right, guys, there you have it. The rose that grew from the concrete. I'm just in love with this cup, guys. So if you would like to see more tutorials like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and click that notification bell so that you always know when I upload. Follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, and join our Facebook group, Glitter Tumbler Epoxy Hacks Beginners to Advanced, so that we can answer all of your questions any time of the day. I hope you love this video and you all have a glitterful day. Bye.